There's a kind of pain that has no name. It's when you feel the connection, but they keep pulling away. One day they're tender like they truly love you. The next they vanish without a word. And you start asking yourself, did I do something wrong? Am I just not enough to be chosen? If you've ever been caught in a vague, inconsistent relationship with someone warm, then cold, then gone, this video is for you. Today, we're diving deep into how avoidantly attached people behave differently when you're just an option versus when you're the one they truly love. This isn't about giving you false hope, and it's not about blaming anyone. It's about helping you see clearly. You are not wrong, you're not too sensitive, and you don't have to prove your worth to be loved. Because for avoidants, they don't react to how good or bad you are. They react to how emotionally safe you feel to them. When you're just an option, they stay in control. When you're someone they love, they fear losing themselves. You'll notice the difference in their tone, in the way they pull away, in how they return even in the smallest gestures that reveal unhealed beliefs and emotional wounds. Stay with us till the end of the video, because the final part will not only show you where you truly stand, it will also guide you on how to heal and step out of this emotional loop with clarity. And if you're on the journey of understanding yourself better, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon, so you never miss any content that helps you grow stronger and freer in love. There's a kind of connection that makes you feel both close and invisible. They text you, but they're not fully present. They talk, but never about anything real. And slowly, you sink into a gray zone, unsure whether you're building something meaningful or just being kept around for convenience. For those with an avoidant attachment style, they're not heartless, but they don't allow themselves to fully show up in emotional connection. When you're just an option, they keep you at a distance, close enough to not lose you, far enough to never feel too exposed. From the very beginning, you might have noticed it. A vagueness in the messages, a few caring words, but never when you need them most. When you share something vulnerable, they respond with an emoji or switch the topic. And when you try to talk about emotions, needs, feelings, connection, they avoid. They go silent. They deflect. Even if you speak gently, they still feel pressured. Not because you're wrong, but because they don't know what to do with feelings, even their own. They rarely define the relationship. You'll hear things like, I'm not ready for something serious. Let's keep it chill. I don't like labels. You might respect that, but if you value clarity and connection, it becomes confusing. Because they're not rejecting you, but also not letting you in. In the avoidance world, clarity feels dangerous. It implies commitment. Commitment means showing up, being consistent, confronting vulnerability. So they choose ambiguity, the neutral ground that keeps them in control. You begin to feel like you're always guessing. What are they feeling? Do they even like me? Should I text first or wait? This inconsistency wears you down. One day, they're texting nonstop. The next, they disappear. When you show interest, they pull away. When you go quiet, they come back. This rhythm isn't random, it's their emotional regulation system. They give you just enough hope, a hint of intimacy, then retreat. They manage connection like adjusting the temperature, warm enough to keep you, never enough to hold you. When you ask questions, they say you're too sensitive. When you seek clarity, they say you're moving too fast. But underneath, it's their fear. Fear of losing independence, fear of being seen, fear of dropping the mask of self-sufficiency they've worn all their lives. The problem isn't just that they don't love you. It's that they don't allow themselves to be loved in a way that's real and connected. When you're just an option, they build an invisible wall, not close enough to let you in, not far enough to let you go. They control the connection rhythm through silence, delayed responses, or just enough effort to keep you tethered, but never safe. They sense you're becoming emotionally invested, and instead of meeting you there, they unconsciously react with a classic avoidant move. They pull back. When you care more, they get distant. When you go quiet, they suddenly check in a random message, a like on an old post, a casual, "Hey, how've you been?" That makes you wonder, do they still care, or am I imagining it? The truth often lies here. They don't want to lose you, but they also don't want to take responsibility for a relationship. Because stepping in fully would require them to open their inner world, face real emotions, and that's beyond what an avoidant nervous system is prepared for. So instead of staying with the discomfort, they control the dynamics. They create an invisible tug of war, where you're the one constantly adjusting your words, your tone, your steps. And in the process, you slowly lose yourself. Worse, they start to label you. Too emotional, too controlling, too much. And if you're not grounded enough, you start internalizing that. You try to dial it down, become less needy, less expressive, just to keep them. And in that moment, you fall into the role they subconsciously need, someone who regulates themselves so they don't have to grow. But here's a truth you must hold on to. Avoidants don't need you to feel less. They need to learn to tolerate closeness. And if you're always the one adapting, they'll never need to evolve. They won't see this, but you must. Because every time you abandon your own need for connection, you're draining yourself just to maintain something unstable. And sadly, the less you ask, the more they assume things are fine. You don't need to scream or disappear. What you need is internal clarity. What do I need, and can this person meet that? Because when you're just an option, the ambiguity isn't your fault, it's the symptom of their attachment fear. And no one can heal that for them, not even your deepest love. When you're just an option, they keep distance to stay in control. But when you're the one they truly love, they still keep distance, but this time, it's to protect themselves. One of the most painful paradoxes of loving an avoidant is this: the more they love, the more afraid they become. The more you matter, the more you threaten their emotional defenses. Falling in love for them is not a soft landing. It's an inner crisis. Part of them wants closeness, deeply. The other part whispers, don't trust, don't get attached, you'll lose your freedom, you'll get hurt. That's why what you feel is a cycle of contradiction. They reach out, then disappear. They're warm, then suddenly cold. They draw you in, and then back away without warning. Avoidants don't pull back because they're bored. They retreat because real emotions start to surface, and that makes them feel out of control. For them, love doesn't feel like safety. It reminds them of pressure, expectations, past wounds, abandonment. Love doesn't just bring up emotion, it activates old pain. You might feel rejected. You start to wonder, did I do something wrong? Was I too much? Why did they shut down when everything felt good? But truthfully, you didn't do anything wrong. They're just scared of something they can't even name. Avoidants don't know how to face emotion with words. They won't say, I'm feeling overwhelmed by how close this is getting. Instead, they go silent, pull away, isolate, or even hurt you to create emotional distance. It's their way of disconnecting before they drown in emotions they've never learned to process. And the tragic truth is, they pull away, not because they don't love you, but because they're beginning to. When you're the one they love, that love itself triggers turmoil inside them. You're no longer a casual connection. You're something real, deep, and dangerously close to parts of them they've buried. And for an avoidant, that's terrifying and irresistible all at once. You'll see the difference in their eyes when they come back. It's not the indifferent glance from before. It's softer, tinged with regret, and a silent plea that says, I don't know how to do this, but I don't want to lose it. They may not say, I miss you, or you matter, but you'll feel it in their presence, their return, and their quiet effort to stay, however clumsy. This inner contradiction is an essential part of the avoidance journey when they love deeply. They want to be seen and loved, but they also fear losing themselves. That's why their love may look confusing. But if you pay close attention, you'll see they're not playing. They're just lost in a world of feelings they were never taught how to stay in. When they love through action because they don't know how to say it in words. And this is the most misunderstood phase. When an avoidant loves you truly, they do not speak much. They do not promise with words. They won't shower you with, I love you. But they will begin loving in action, in tiny details that most people don't notice. In subtle forms of care, but care that is very real. They'll remember things you mentioned once. They'll keep lines you wrote. They know what scares you, where you get tired, where you are fragile. Avoidants love in action because words feel dangerous. Words mean commitment. Words mean I choose you. Words mean responsibility, and that terrifies them more than losing you. So they choose a safer path for their nervous system. They love by helping you, supporting you, doing things quietly for you. An avoidant will check in through seemingly casual questions. Did you sleep? Did you get home safe? Did you fix that car issue you mentioned? That is their version of, I care. When you struggle, They appear not loudly, but precisely. They fix things. They offer solutions. They remove stress. They do the things others won't do. Not to impress, but because that's the only love language they trust. They love through service, through effort, through being the quiet roof over your head. And if you're perceptive, you'll see the shift. From avoiding responsibility to carrying responsibility quietly. This is transformation. This is investment. This is when you are no longer an option. You are an emotional anchor, but fear still remains. They are still cautious. They're still afraid to give everything because if they speak their truth, if they name how much you mean, everything becomes too real, too deep, too fragile. They love you, but they still need space to breathe. So in every action, there is duality. Genuine care, cautious fear of exposure. This is why many misread avoidance as detached, because they do not use words to prove their feelings. To an avoidant, words are easy and therefore not trustworthy. Action is investment. Action is truth. You will see them stabilizing in their own way. They disappear less. They run less. They stay longer in emotional conversations. They don't always withdraw anymore. And that is the sign of inner shift. They are learning how to stand in love without losing themselves. When they start revealing the past and your presence becomes the quiet reason they begin to change, this is the deepest part, one not everyone gets to see. When you're someone a true avoidant falls for over time, if you're patient, you'll start to see them reveal pieces of their past that they've kept hidden even from themselves. They won't tell you everything at once. They won't call it trauma. They'll just mention, "My parents weren't home much," or "I'm used to handling things alone," or "I'm not great at emotions." It sounds casual, but if you're grounded and present, you'll know. These are the roots, the place where their nervous system learned that closeness equals danger. Avoidants don't share to be comforted. They share to test safety. If you react by analyzing or demanding more, they'll retreat. But if you simply listen, no judgment, no fixing, then you become a safe space they've never known. You'll start to see quiet signs. They start sharing things from their day. They ask for your opinion on something they're struggling with. They admit they're afraid of something. They talk about an old wound they used to brush off with a joke. These are the signs. They are letting you into their inner world. More importantly, they are stepping into that world themselves. They're not running from emotions anymore. They're beginning to name them, however clumsily. This is the beginning of healing for an avoidant, not because you're healing them, but because your grounded presence gives them enough safety to finally look within. You don't need to say much. You don't need to help them. Just your calm, your ability not to overreact, not to control, not to demand they love your way, is what makes them slowly loosen their defenses. Then you'll notice something else. They start staying longer. They no longer vanish without warning. They return not because they fear losing you, but because they finally want to stay with themselves. Love is no longer a tug of war between closeness and space. It becomes a quiet settling, like a lake that no longer ripples. And in that stillness, they begin to realize, you're not just someone they love, you're someone who makes them want to become better. When an avoidant truly loves, they don't love you to fill a hole. They love you because with you, they no longer have to pretend. They get to be who they are, and for the first time, that feels okay. They may still go quiet, still need space. But the difference is clear. It's no longer avoidance out of fear. It's space to process what's real. They are learning to stay not just with you, but with themselves. And that is the most sacred shift of all. When your presence is not just part of the relationship, but the quiet force that awakens their emotional freedom from within. And then, eventually, there is no more chasing, no more withdrawing, no more psychological games between stay or disappear, between do they love me or am I just an option. Everything becomes clear not through words, but through the quiet presence of two people who once excelled at avoiding themselves. The avoidant, if they love deeply enough and grow within their fear, will stop using distance as a strategy. They begin to stay, not just stay with you, but stay with themselves, in love. It's a subtle shift in behavior, but an emotional revolution within. And you, the one who used to exhaust yourself trying to prove your worth, believing love meant making someone get you, now no longer need that. You don't need someone to love you back as validation. You just need someone brave enough to face themselves without dragging you into a game they're not ready to play. True love does not require you to heal someone. True love is when each person dares to face their own wounds without asking the other to carry it for them. You don't have to be their healer. You just have to be a safe space where they can begin to heal themselves. And if they don't stay, if they still choose avoidance, still disappear, still use you as a refuge from intimacy, that too is a gift, because you are no longer blind. You are now awake enough to see that emotional vagueness is not proof of depth, and withdrawal no longer destabilizes you because you no longer use love to patch your own holes. Let those who are not ready go. Let those who still use love to delay maturity face their own path. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to keep living sincerely, deeply, and consciously for yourself. Because in the end, emotional maturity doesn't come from keeping someone, but from no longer losing yourself just to keep anyone. Love is not blind sacrifice. Love is the place where you can be yourself without begging for space to exist. As Carl Jung once wrote, meeting someone at the level of the soul is never an accident. It is the reunion of two people who dared to face their own shadow.